Now, number 3 on the next slide, what you're going to do now that you've kind of started to look at this data, you've gotten the right information, you've talked to the right people, you need to start in this audit, identify and quantify the errors and the opportunities. You're actually looking for 2 things. You're looking for errors and mistakes that need to be corrected. You're also looking for opportunities where you can save money and reduce costs. As I said, if you're paying any duties at all in Mexico, you got to take a hard look at that. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be paying duties.
No.
In some cases, you're going to have to, and there's no option, there's no PROSEC, there's no Rule 8. It is what it is, and you owe the cost. But you still want to take a close look at that to see if there's any way you can reduce it, mitigate it, and possibly even eliminate it. Because if you're paying really high duties, we consider that certainly to be pretty much a red flag.
It's rare, exactly. Yes.
Shouldn't happen too much. So if you look at the next screen, you'll kind of see what we'll talk about here. What we recommend is you want to look at the entire world, your entire operation, and you really want to identify the errors. We recommend that you basically look back at least 2 years.
Yes.
Typically, an audit, when we go back, they'll look at least a 2-year window. Now, the government can go back 5, but we recommend you go back only 2 because you don't find anything as a 2. Usually, even Mexican Customs isn't going to go back any further than that. So 2 is what we call your area of risk. So we look at that, and we do a sampling methodology of at least 5 to 10%. And you want to document that, how you did that sampling methodology. You're not looking at all your transactions, but you're going to be picking certain things, maybe certain HTS codes, certain product lines, certain things that you're going to hyper-focus on, and you want to document that, and you want to make sure that methodology is random. You need to demonstrate that there's a randomness to it. You want to document this very well, because if they do come in, one of the things we always want to share with them is we want to say, well, we've been doing our own auditing, and these are our results. It takes the wind out of their sail. They generally become a lot easier working with you. And yeah, they may find different things, but at least they know that you're
watching it start.
You're in the mode. You're in a compliant mode. If you say I've never audited, or you say you've audited and you can't prove it, as far as they're concerned, if you can't prove it, you haven't audited. So document the heck out of this thing if you're going to do it, because you really want to have a specific process. You want to use the same methodology year after year after year and just keep redoing it. Now, on the next screen, what we kind of share with you is after you found the errors, I think this is the one thing we always say, you want to kind of quantify the errors.
Exactly. Yes. So basically what you do here is you take essentially your sample error rate, and you're going to take whatever sample rate you obtain and apply it to your company-wide total volume of imports and come up with basically your total exposure. And whatever that number looks like, again, dependent on each company, that number for one company could be high, for another company it could be low. But whatever that number is, you have to take action. You have to do something. You have to either, like Steve mentioned, rectify those errors. Now, same as we do in the US, you have to evaluate. One of the things that we do here is we look at really what's needed correcting-wise, and we determine whether the error is material versus not really that material, and we make a decision on that. Now, that is totally a business decision that your company has to make, but that's how we quantify this.
Yeah, because not all errors are equal.
Exactly.
Certainly what we're saying is some errors are more serious and more significant than others. So a lot of times we want to identify the error, quantify what that error looks like, and maybe just take corrective measures going forward, and not necessarily do anything about the past.
Yes.
Certain errors, though, you really do have to rectify. You have to correct those for the past. Otherwise, it's just going to mess up all your data. And again, this methodology is really what Mexican Customs does.
Yes.
They'll do a sampling, and they'll explode it to the whole world. They're not going to go and look at everything. They can't, and they don't have the time, and they don't have the resources. So we want your methodology really to be similar to theirs. Don't think you can look at 100%. You'll never be able to look at 100%. Volume's too great. So typically you just extrapolate that. And again, if it was a good sampling done randomly, generally that methodology typically works pretty well, and that's kind of what they do. But look at the errors, certainly take corrective measures, possibly rectify depending on what they are. And like Juan said, many times that is an internal business decision, how you decide to go. There is no obligation, there's no responsibility to rectify, but there is risk if you don't. It's similar to the US side, there's no requirement that you correct your entries, but if you don't correct your entries, there's a risk that if Customs catches it, there could be consequences. So you got to kind of weigh that, and that's kind of case by case. So that's kind of the area of what you're going to do next. Is you're really going to go in there and you're going to identify what those errors are, and then you're going to quantify what those errors are. That's kind of the next piece.